I am Celia Thomas. I am now 76 and I have Pompe disease, which was only diagnosed a few years ago. My morning routine starts at 20 past 6. I take off my ventilator. My night carer gets me out of bed. He puts the kettle on, makes me some tea. He watches over me like a hawk while I'm walking to make sure I don't have another fall. And at 8:30, my carer comes. She helps me have a shower. I could do all this by myself a very short time ago, but now I need help. I then go down in my stool floor lift to the sitting room. Gets me to go into the wheelchair. Then I get onto my enhanced kitchen chair. I have also got another formal name, which is Baroness Thomas of Winchester, because I have been a Liberal Democrat peer in the House of Lords since 2006. The other day, I spoke in a debate about social care. I didn't say much, but I did say carers ought to be much better paid. But people think caring is unskilled. It is not. It is a highly skilled job. Where would we be without our carers who multitask the whole time and often the first people to see somebody in real distress, maybe even somebody who's died. My mission in life is to try and get them paid a much better wage than they are at the moment. My childhood, adolescence was pretty normal. I always had a lot of energy. I walked a lot. I played tennis a lot. I loved that. And I even, when I was grown up, went on a walking holiday where we never walked flat. We always walked up hills. I've been abroad, to Europe, Hong Kong, Jerusalem, and it's been my great pleasure to do that. I was in the National Hospital because I thought I had limb-girdle, muscular dystrophy, and I was getting a lot of chest infection. So I went in. I was given a lot of blood tests and things. And one very eagle-eyed neurologist noticed that my enzyme in my blood was half what it should be. And that led to a diagnosis of Pompe. This was about 2.5 years ago, and I immediately started on Myozyme infusion. But I wished it could have been 10 years previously, because then my walking would have been much easier. I used to be a member of the Bach Choir in London, but I've sung in choirs all my life from the age of 4 till the age of 40. We used to sing in the Albert Hall, Festival Hall, Westminster Cathedral particularly. It was only in the last 2 years that I noticed that my breathing was not very good. It was recommended not to sing for a bit. So I left the Bach Choir. I really miss that a lot. Talking can be very tiring. The ventilator is called a BiPAP. You have to fit the mask on your face, and then it helps your diaphragm go up and down It is not oxygen. People think that you are being given oxygen, but you are not. It's the physical moving of the diaphragm expelling carbon dioxide. It was a relief to get the diagnosis of Pompey, and I was very pleased that there was a treatment. However, we know that it is not very effective in older people. On the other hand, who knows what I would have been able to do and not do if I hadn't had it. So maybe it has been keeping me going. When the treatments stopped during the pandemic, which they did for me, I felt I was getting a lot worse quicker. I have the infusion at home every 2 weeks. Oh, it's much better to be able to have them at home. People who do get diagnosed will get the treatment as soon as they can. So I suppose there was a bit of loneliness, but I have a pretty good support system here in the road, and a lot of people say to me, I'm here if you want anything, so that's very helpful. And at one point, my lift here broke down, and 2 neighbours came morning and evening to lift me up. On my rollator, they lifted me up those 3 steps so I could then get to bed. A very interesting question about whether it has made me more resilient. It's made me more accepting of not being able to do things, like making a cup of tea, coffee, making my soup. I could do it. 2 months ago I did, but not now. So I have to not keep saying, oh, I just have to accept that other people have to do more for me now. I think society is beginning to treat disabled people better, but there's a very long way to go. It is very important to have a lot of role models in wheelchairs for the public to see that wheelchair people are just ordinary people trying to get around, and they should not be subject to any sort of discrimination at all. People are very reluctant to hear about why people are in wheelchairs. Anything I've been able to do to help disabled people in general, and to fight for democracy in its widest sense, those are the things I'm most proud of. We either live in the future or we live in the past. I think you do more of one than the other when you get older. We still live in the future, don't we? You always think what you're about to do on a day-to-day basis than what you did yesterday. I am the master of my own fate, in a way. I want to keep doing what I can do now. We have to be open to everything that could make a difference. And who knows, in the future, disability will affect far fewer people. There are more people who can live pretty well ordinary lives, even with a condition like Pompey. So the future is definitely bright.